Is the Church of Christ a denomination? You know, the word denomination is actually not found in the Bible at all. In fact, the idea of denominationalism is based on sectarianism and division. Religious denominations are divisions among people who claim to follow the same Lord and the same Bible, but they cannot agree because of their denomination. Just before his arrest, Jesus prayed for his disciples in John chapter 17, verses 20 and 21. Listen to these words very carefully. Jesus said, "Neither pray I for these alone," that is, the apostles alone, "but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me." Jesus wanted unity among his apostles and everyone who would believe the apostles' teachings, whether through their preaching or writings. My friends, this unity is not possible as long as the denominational system exists. The denominational system has developed with various creeds and manuals and handbooks and hierarchies and systems of organization which have grown more and more complex over time. Back in the late 1700s and throughout the 1800s, there were people who were members of denominations who began to do a more thorough study of the Word of God, and they began to do a much closer examination of the Scriptures. And upon closer examination, they learned that the denominational system was actually a violation of the Word of God. And so they determined to leave denominations so that they could restore the undenominational Church of Christ of the New Testament. And so they began to call people out of denominations and point them back to the Bible. And their plea was, let's go back to the original. Let's restore the church that we read about in the New Testament. They learned that they were to be just Christians, not members of any denomination, just members of the church that we read about in the New Testament. That's why churches of Christ are undenominational. We have no creed but the Bible, no denominational or church hierarchy over the local congregation, and our only rule of faith and practice is the Word of God. We speak where the Bible speaks, and we are silent where the Bible is silent. As Peter declared in 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 11, "If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God." We are not Church of Christ Christians. We are simply Christians, members of the church that we read about in the New Testament. You know, the seeds of denominationalism began to be sown in the church at Corinth, as we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 1. In verses 11 and 12 of that chapter, Paul said to them, "It hath been declared unto me by them that are of the house of Chloe that there are contentions among you, and I partly believe it. Now every one of you saith, I am of Paul, and I of Cephas, and I of Apollos, and I of Christ." Some of these Christians were beginning to follow after men. They weren't satisfied to be Christians only. And so that prompted Paul to ask the question in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 13, is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Or were you baptized in the name of Paul? They knew the answers to those questions. And so why then were they beginning to be divided? You see, they were dividing the church at Corinth into arguing factions. And Paul showed the seriousness of this situation by saying that he was actually glad that he had baptized only a few at Corinth so that few could claim to follow him instead of Christ. What denominations were Peter and Paul members of? Absolutely none. They were just Christians, members of the Church of Christ. So the Church of Christ, if it is the church that we read about in the New Testament, cannot be a denomination. If you'd like to study this matter further, or if you would like to know more about the Church of Christ, then please feel free to contact us at the Southside Church of Christ in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Our address is 5193 Highway 1 South, Jonesboro. Our zip code is 72404. Or you can email us at southsidechurchofchrist5193@yahoo.com. Thank you so much for viewing this video. We bid you a very pleasant good day.